Hello students, welcome to today's class, and our topic is basic computer operations. Previous classes we've talked about communication systems, we've talked about application areas of ICT, but for this class we'll be talking about basic operations in computing. Now when you talk about basic operations, what are the objectives? We will describe a booting process, talk about the types, we explain the types of booting, how do you start your computer. We'll also emphasize on the components of a desktop, how you run an application program. Have you ever run an application program before? For this class, you'll be learning on how to run an application program. And lastly, we'll now be talking about how do you shut down your computer. You've booted the computer and you've made series of work and operations in the computer. So how well do you now shut down the computer? But firstly, what is booting? Booting is just the process of putting on your computer. In computing, booting is the initial set of operations, that a computer system performs when electrical power is given to the CPU. The process begins when the computer is turned on for the very first time or is re-energized after being turned off, and it ends when the computer is ready to perform its normal operation. There are basically two types of booting. We have the warm booting and the cold booting. Now, what's the cold booting? The cold booting simply is the startup of a computer from a powered down or off state. The cold booting simply means that when you are running the system from the beginning or a dormant state, it means the system is not in operation. Cold booting. Likewise, cold booting is also called a cold start. Now, when you talk about cold booting, also move to warm booting. What is warm booting? Warm booting refers to when you restart a computer, meaning that the computer was in operation, meaning the computer was on. You just make use of your restart, and when you are performing a restart, there are a series of ways in which you restart your computer. One of the ways in which you are seeing the screen is the control plus alternate plus delete key. Now, take note, the warm booting, the computer is in operation. Now, when you look at both the cold booting and the warm booting, what comes to play, most especially in the warm booting, is that a warm booting is sometimes necessary when a program encounters an error from which it cannot recover. When there's an issue with warm booting, when you are operating the computer, you just want to restart your computer, you perform warm booting. Now, the basic difference between a warm booting and cold booting is this. Take note. One, the warm booting, the system is in operation. The cold booting, the system is not in operation. Take note of those two things. And now when you talk about cold booting also, cold booting, you can't talk about cold booting without referring to rebooting. Now, what is rebooting? Rebooting is the process by which a running computer system is restarted, either intentionally or unintentionally. Now, how do you start up a computer? Now, there are various ways in which you can start up your computer. First of all, the computer must, first of all, be off. The very first thing is to connect your computer to the UPS, meaning universal. Now, what's UPS? UPS means uninterrupted power supply. And when you connect the system to the UPS, then you power it. Second stage, you power it from the power button, just like the way you are seeing it on the screen. You power it from the power button from the system unit. Then when you do that in some PCs, you have to power the monitor. But there are some PCs that when you perform these operations, you don't power it, it just automatically boots. But there's some PCs that you have to power it on from the power system, from this power button from the monitor. Then the computer boots and it loads to desktop. So that's how or the steps in which you take in um, booting a computer. Now, moving away from there, we'll now talk about the components of a Windows desktop. The components of a Windows desktop. Now, in this class, we'll just base our teaching on three basic components, which are the icons, the taskbar, and the background. The icons, the taskbar, and the background. Now, what's the icon? The icon is a small on-screen graphic element that represents an application, a file, and the hardware resources. When you click on an icon with the mouse, the pointer selects the items that the icons represent. Now, another is the taskbar. The taskbar is usually at the bottom of the desktop, and the background is more like your profile picture or your wallpaper. Moving away from there, we'll now move on to running an application program. How do you run an application? At this point, what you are simply doing is let's take a you're running a Microsoft Word, for example. If you are running an application, the very first thing you must do is you must click your start button. And when you click your start button, it takes you to the portion in which you need to run. But before we talk about running an application program, still on the components. Now, this on the screen there is basically the interface of a desktop or a window desktop, the interface of a window desktop. I know a lot of you have seen it. They all mean something. You have the time there, you have the taskbar as we said earlier, and the icons. The icons, anything you click on the screen is called an icon. Anything you click on the screen is an icon. Let's say it's a picture you are clicking is an icon. It's a music you are clicking is an icon. Anything is a document you are clicking, it's an icon. Now, moving away from there, we'll now talk about how then do you shut down your computer. The very first step in shutting down your computer is you click the start button. Some persons will say the Windows button. You click the start button. Now, after clicking the start button, the next that you're going to be doing is that you would then click on you will then click on or there's a dialog box that will show for you to select a program. You will then click on all programs. Now, in all computers, not all of them have all programs. There are some of the systems that when you click on start button, it just gives you a proofread on everything in the computer. So at that point, you will see a button there that connotes shutdown. You see a button that connotes restart. You see a button that connotes sleep. You see a button that connotes um, um, hibernate. Now, when you see all that, then what you should do, just like you have on the screen there, what you should not do is that, like I said, a box will appear. Then you will now select shut down by clicking it. After clicking it, the next you have to do is to click on the OK button. Anything you do as to show that you've confirmed your decision, you click on the OK button. If you click on the cancel button, it means you've cancelled the entire process. And when you do that, your system would start shutting down. The system, it may take some time to shut down. It may take some time to shut down. But thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. And I know that more classes will be more productive. See you next time. Thank you.